This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
AC, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm really excited to talk with you because I'm a big fan of yours. And a lot of folks may not know that we're comrades together in our cardiac rehab program.
Right.
You told me that you're 93.
Right.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you work out like every day.
Yes, ma'am, sure do.
Now, why do you do that? I'm just going to ask you that right off the bat.
I've always felt like that exercise was really the best health thing you could do, even better than medicine. And I started after I had my heart surgery. I didn't have a heart attack, but they did 5 bypasses, and I thought, well, I'll go for a while anyway. Mm-hmm. I garden, and I thought that'll be enough. And I talked to some doctors and other people that had exercised, and they said, you know, you can work all you want to in the garden, but it's not worth what you think it will be as far as you're really getting your body in shape. Mm-hmm. And they said that exercise is what you need, and gardening is not worth a D as far as your health.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad you 10 years ago decided to start that program. So anybody who says they're too old to get started exercising, it's not true, is it?
Well, that's right.
It's not true. So, A.C. Clark, you have a long history in our region, but also in Tennessee. You were the Commissioner of Agriculture.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have been worked in 4-H, and you just have this incredible history in ag and in education and caring for people. Let me just ask you about that. What do you love about this region?
Well, I've been on 3 different continents, and I've never found a place that I loved like I do the Upper Cumberland. I tell these youngsters when I talk to high school groups that don't ever be ashamed that you're a hillbilly, because it's a good way to be.
That's right. Now, I noticed your hat says you are a Purple Heart recipient. Tell me about, I know you're a World War II veteran. Tell me about that.
Yes, ma'am. I was in World War II, and I was in Africa, Italy, France, and Germany. And I was wounded once in Italy and once in France. Mm. And they wasn't, I was lucky. They weren't bad wounds. I guess a lot of people say any wound is a bad one, but
right.
I really didn't have to leave my company. On the first and the company medic, I got hit with a phosphorus shell, and what phosphorus does, when you get it in the air, it burns. Mm. And he started taking it out, and it started burning, and he's burning his finger. And so he said, I'm going to have to get a cold rag with water on it. And that's what he did in getting that one out.
Wow, I can only imagine what all you endured during that time. What division did you serve with?
I was with the 45th Infantry Division, and I was the communication man in Company C, a rifle company, and I had to go on about every patrol they went on, because it was my job to keep in contact with the headquarters and call in artillery if we needed, or whatever they needed. But I was I was in the company as the communication. I had a radio, and then it weighed about 25 pounds. And I had to carry it along with my other things. And then I also took care of the phone lines. When they went out, I had to take care of them.
Wow. You know, AC, let's talk about what do you tell these young people when you go talk to them in this region about World War II and about being a veteran?
Well, you know, I try to tell them how I was their age when I went in. I was 19 years old, and as I told you, I was in the Camp Landing for 17 weeks, and less than a month later, I was in combat. And we landed in Africa and then went to Italy and then to southern France and made the landing there. People tell me, I don't believe our younger generation would do what they call us the greatest generation. And I said, I don't believe a word of it. I feel like that if you were called on, like I was, you would defend this country and do just as good a job as we did.
That means a lot. That really means a lot.
Well, I really think they do. I mean, you know, I was just a kid on the farm, and I'd started to tech, but I'd never been away from home. And when I went into service, I had no idea what was going to happen to me.
Right.
But I think that young people today would do the very same thing.
So, AC, you were at Tech before the war. Now,
Right.
that really is impressive, because what was that, 1941?
Yeah.
You were at Tech in 1941. Your parents must have thought a lot about education for you to be there.
Well, I was fortunate. I was in a family that my parents thought that you wasn't through school till you went through college. And they had, you know, they worked hard. And during the Depression, they didn't know whether they'd keep their farm or not, but they'd never been anybody that worked any harder than my parents did. And yet I knew I'd had 4 siblings that had been to Tech before I went.
Wow.
And I knew that they'd expect me to go. And I had dyslexia, and I knew I was going to have trouble. But I worked hard and made my grades.
That's fantastic. You came back from the war, actually, and graduated from Tech.
Yeah, I tell people it took me 8 years to graduate. I left Tech in spring of 42, and then got back in 46 and finished in 48.
My goodness, that's great, though. That's phenomenal. You met your wife at Tech?
Yes, I did.
And tell us about Catherine.
Well, you know, Catherine and I didn't live as the crow flies over 8 or 10 miles apart, but there's a river that separates us. And she roomed at Tech with my youngest sister, and I met her after I got back out of service, and I tell people that I don't guess we ever dated anybody else. We married in 48, and she was Miss Tech that year, and Dr. Farr told me, he said, well, you did a good day's work there.
I love that. That is great. So, and you guys have been so committed to Tennessee Tech ever since. I mean, your lives have really spanned the whole history of Tech, hasn't it?
This is Tech's 100th year, and we had, my wife's father was in Dixie College when it changed over. He played football at Dixie College, and then I had 5 siblings that went there, and we counted up, we've had 26 people in our family that went to Tech.
Wow. Well,
And
congratulations.
I've also tell them we We've got 5 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren, and there's 2 intact now, and I'm sure the rest of them will be there.
That's right. That's right. And you have a scholarship you're in Catherine's name.
Right,
I believe.
yes, we
That's
do.
fantastic. AC, I know there's been so many changes in your lifetime. I mean, you're 93. What do you think's the most significant change?
Well, you know, I guess that medical advancement has been the most noticeable thing, because I'd have been dead 10 to 15 years ago if it hadn't been for our medical advancement. Back when I can first remember, a man's average lifespan was about 40-something years. And now it's around 80, 76 or so. And most of it's been due to medical technology.
Right.
We didn't have any antibiotics or any. When I first remember, I had pneumonia when I was 11 or 12 years old, and there wasn't any kind of antibiotics. 2 doctors came and they looked and listened, and they didn't have anything except aspirin to give me. And I spit up blood for a week. And I know Dr. Sidwell was there, and he stayed all night. He said, well, he's spitting up brick dust. Said that he'll be spitting up blood in the morning. Wow. And I spit up blood for a week, but I got over it, you know.
Well, what do you think the secret is to a long life? You've had a long life.
Well, I think people better exercise. I've exercised 10 years now. Of course, I've always, you know, coming up on the farm, and then in high school I played basketball and baseball, and have always exercised. Even in my Army training, I was conditioned enough that the exercise part, even though we made 25-mile hikes with a 50-pound pack, I never had any problems in that. But that was, you know, due to the fact that I'd worked on a farm all my life.
What do you think about just one of the things you told me you shared with these young people is to be kind, to be thoughtful?
I tell them that my philosophy was that to first put their trust in God, help us do away with bullying and that kind of thing. Take an attitude of gratitude and be kind to one another. Do what you can with what you got, where you are. And as the Blackfeet Indians said, don't ever lie, don't ever quit.
That's pretty good motto there.
Yeah,
That is
the Blackfoot Indians, I was in Colorado. I went to Colorado State to school one summer, and some people took me up where the Blackfoot Indians had a big battle, and they said that was their motto: never lie, never quit.
I love that. I love that. I love it. You know, so you were featured in Tom Brokaw's, what he did on NBC News about World War II, about, there was a friend of yours, his widow was featured in Tom's book, The Greatest Generation, right?
Becky, I knew around 100 young men that died that was in my outfit. And I've tried, and I've done this for several families, I've tried to get a hold of their families and tell them what I knew about them. And Raymond Kelly from Lebanon, Indiana was one of those. I didn't get a hold of his wife because I kind of felt like she might have married again. and she did. But her husband died, and she was in Tom Brokaw's Greatest Generation book. And a friend of mine gave me his book and said, "You ought to read this." And I opened it up, and it fell open to Raymond Kelly's picture. And I wrote Tom Brokaw and told him, I said, "If Daphne wants to know anything about her husband, I'll be glad to tell her." And Tom Brokaw's group brought her down to Cookeville, and they spent 2 days with us. And her husband had already died, and her daughter came with her. But I told her all I knew about Raymond, and she said she had never heard from the War Department anything, and she said it seemed like a Christmas present to her because she just never heard of him.
Well, it had to be so empowering to her to get some closure on that,
yeah.
and to meet someone who had spent those final moments with him.
Well, yeah, we had talked and laughed 5 minutes before he was killed. We were up in France, and we were up on a hillside there's 30 or 40 of us in a platoon, and we'd run through and passed the German group that came in. They came through with a half-track, machine guns on it, and sprayed that hillside, and we was watching up on the top of it. We didn't have no idea they was behind us.
Oh.
And so one of the machine gun slugs caught him right in the heart, and he was dead just like that.
He referenced you a lot in letters that he sent home, didn't he? He thought you were quite the fine Southern gentleman, and people loved your accent.
Yeah, he said us hillbillies had a peculiar way of talking.
AC, you've spent your whole life really in agriculture.
Yes, I.
And working on a whole variety of levels, and the commissioner. I mean, that's like probably the kingpin, isn't it, to be the commissioner of Ag. But I'm real interested in your work with 4-H. You did a lot with 4-H.
Well, I did. I worked with Extension for the university 34 years. And after I become commissioner, become the headquarters man, the supervisor of these 15 Upper Cumberland counties, I'd say half of my work was with 4-H. And I tried to stay involved every way I could. I even, at 4-H camp, nearly every year, I give demonstrations to the children on rifle safety, arm safety, and gun safety. In fact, the Remington Company give me a certificate because I had done 10,000 children, told them about how to gun safety.
Right. Oh, wow. It's kind of ironic that 4-H camp up in Crossville was a former prisoner of war camp, right?
Yeah.
And you actually had some of those gentlemen come back.
I told them about 4-H camp. I mean, the prisoner of war camp. They'd have, in fact, there's a lot of groups that wasn't agriculture that had me come and tell them about the prisoner of war camp. They was nearly, I'd say every year that I was there, there's at least one or two Germans or Italians that came back and wanted to find out what it was like. And I know I asked them, I said, well, why would you want to come back where you've been in prison? And they said, well, we spent 3 years here and we wanted to see what is on the outside.
That's great. Well, I guess they were treated pretty well, evidently.
They said they were.
That's good. That's good. That's good to hear. You have a wonderful family, and I know you're so proud of your family.
Well, I am.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Well, we've got 4 children. Sandra is our oldest daughter, and her and our young daughter next to her are both retired now. She was a supervisor with the state department of regional supervisor of the Upper Cumberland area for vocational rehabilitation. Then Patricia, Pat, was a lawyer, but she didn't really practice law. She worked for the university about 12 or 15 years as state head of the assistant commissioner of agriculture of a woman.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive,
Well,
right?
And now people said, well, I guess you helped her, but I didn't even know she appointed until she told me.
Right.
And then Jim, our oldest son, is Dean of Humanities over in Eastern North Carolina in Barton College.
He's quite a famous poet.
Well, he is. He writes books, and he's a musician. They've had several songs that they put on records.
Right, right.
And then Ed is our youngest, and he works the same 15 counties I did for Farm Bureau.
How about that? He's living a full life of agriculture. Isn't he? Yeah. I know Eddie very well. I'm proud of him, and then all those wonderful grandchildren and great-grandchildren. 5
grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
That's fantastic. Now, you know, AC, you've also mentored a lot of people. I have, in fact, when I interviewed the Commissioner of Ag, Julius Johnson, he said you were his true mentor.
Well,
And there are a lot of people that say that. Cindy Whitlow Ken has told me that. A number of people have told me that.
Well, you know, I've been fortunate. I love people. I never have met a person I didn't like. And I never met a person I didn't learn something from. There's a man, I tried to set out native holly trees for 2 or 3 years and never got one to live. And I was talking to this man that I don't guess he ever went through grade school. And he had some in his yard, and I said, you know, I wish I could get those to live. I can't get them to live. Why, he said, I can get them to live, no problem. Said, pull every leaf off of it, and said, they'll come right back. And I never lost another one.
That's great. So you feel like you learn as much from people as they do.
I learn from people more than they learn from me.
That's so fantastic. So AC, what's on your bucket list? What do you want to do next?
Well, as I've said, somebody asked me how come I had lived this long, and I said, well, my work's not done. It's the only thing I know. So I'm waiting for whatever comes.
That sounds great. And how do you want people to remember you or think about you right now?
Well, I hope they think of me as a good person and a person that's always tried to do the right thing, and as Rotary that says live foursquare? Mm-hmm. I try to do that.
Well, you're a great example, I tell you.
Well, I hope so.
I just, you know, I want to thank you for this time. Our time goes by way too fast. Is there anything you want to share with me that I haven't asked you?
Well, I'd say this, Becky. When I was in combat, there's no doubt in my mind but what I had some kind of being that helped me. I had my guardian angel. I've had artillery shells. I had 3 that hit within 2 feet of my head. Mm. And I was in a hole, covered me up, but didn't hurt me. Mm. And I've had machine gun bullets zip by both sides, never touched me. And God has decided that I needed to, my work wasn't done.
Well, AC, I'm glad God decided that. And I'm so glad for you, and I want to thank you for your service.
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
As I said a while ago, you've done more for the people in the Upper Cumberland as far as history than anybody I know, whether they be history teachers or not.
Well, I appreciate that. We sure WCTE loves the Upper Cumberland, and our staff do. We want to capture that history, so we'll keep doing it, okay?
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Well, AC, I want to thank you very much. We are so grateful for you, and I am betting that you're going to shoot for 100 now.
I may do it.
And you surely will.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.